The Department of Veterans Affairs may change its model for building care centers. The White House budget request lists billions of dollars for modernizing and building new centers. Greg Giddens is partner at Potomac Ridge Consulting. He's former chief acquisition officer at the Department of Veterans Affairs. Greg, welcome. It's good to see you. For years, we have been talking about the possibility of some type of realignment and closure, some BRAC-type activity at VA. It appears now the administration's going in a different direction. How would you like to see them best execute that to meet the ultimate mission of serving the veteran?
Well, Frank, it's great to be with you. And there has been discussion for many years about some type of BRAC for the VA. Even when I was there, we tried to do this a facility or two at a time. And when it's just one facility in somebody's backyard, it's really tough to get the decision process going. And I think the administration is trying to balance two different needs. One is to really take a look at the infrastructure and the assets that the VA has to serve veterans and then balance that against the demands and access that veterans need. The veterans have a huge inventory of facilities, over 6,000 owned and 2,000 leased facilities. The vast majority of those are in places where veterans will really need to maintain that type of access and demand. But there's some that, based on demographics and shifts in where veterans are, that probably need to be looked at in terms of downsizing and or closing.
The word here that I think applies is a word that's used very commonly in the military, and that's presence. Does it matter so much what the facility is as it does that the vet can get access to care relatively easily and quickly?
So, Frank's great question. You really have to balance both of those because it's not just the ease of getting to the facility, but then what are the services and types of care models and types of procedures and capabilities that that facility has. And also looking to balance that about what is readily available in the private market. That's another factor that the VA includes when they're looking at their capital planning years in the future, trying to determine what's available in the market, what do they have, and what do veterans need in terms of procedures and capabilities at the medical centers.
I recall a hearing at which one member of the House Veterans Affairs Committee told a VA official at the time, whatever you do, don't call it BRAC. And I wonder how important the terminology is here, both to explain from the VA to Congress and from the VA to veterans what it is that VA is trying to do, whether it's consolidation, building something new, whatever that is. How much does the terminology matter, Greg?
I think it matters a lot, particularly in this town. You can get a visceral reaction to terms like BRAC, and I think the decision to call this the Asset and Infrastructure Review Commission was a good one to really focus on the review and what's needed. And it's not just about building new facilities. It's about looking at those current facilities. For instance, in the VA, their healthcare facilities are over 50 years old. In private industry, they're about 11 years old. So those aging facilities carry with them a lot of deferred maintenance. The VA currently has over $20 billion in deferred maintenance just for those aging facilities. So it's not just about building new, it's about taking a look at how do we rehab, how do we make the current facilities more open, more welcoming, and more conducive to meeting the obligation for the men and women who wear the cloth of our country.
What should the VA have learned from the Denver hospital that it can apply moving forward to avoid the mistakes that it made in Denver?
So I think a couple of things the VA should have learned, and I think they have learned as they're moving forward, is you really have to focus on getting the design right. The VA became under a lot of pressure to begin construction, and they started construction while they still had a very immature design. And laying that design out and having it open during construction really invited a lot of changes throughout the process. And you really need to look at the structure of that design, firm it up before you move forward. And I think the VA has also learned they need to standardize and modularize. Need to standardize the kind of building blocks and think about it almost as some Legos. Have some modular units that if you have this type of care, this type of capability, use this module and build those and not redesign everything for every new medical center.
Are those techniques that private sector healthcare systems use when they're building new facilities, Greg?
They are. They're used in the private sector, and the VA has started using those over the recent years, and they'll need to use those in now this accelerated time, whether it's going to be modernization or building new facilities. They'll need to adopt those, and I know the team at the VA is working hard with industry, pulling in those ideas as well as working with veterans. Right? They have to use human-centered design and get inputs from veterans on what their needs are and expectations for facilities, as well as the staff, because in the end, that building won't provide health care for any veteran. It'll be the staff, clinicians, the healthcare workers that are inside that will be providing that care.
And that's where I wanted to go next. What kind of feedback, what kind of input from the providers that are going to meet the needs of the vets every day is important at the HQ level?
It's extremely important. They've really realized you have to take that into consideration. One of the things Senator McDonald taught us is you can't expect veterans to receive great experience and great care if our employees aren't having a good experience. So it's critical to get those employees' input, understand what their needs are. They're the ones that every day, every night are serving those veterans' needs. And we want to bring those design concepts in and work those in early so that in the end, the facility not just meets the veterans' needs, but also is doing it in a way that's conducive to the staff, the clinicians, the healthcare workers that'll be in those facilities providing care.
Greg Giddens, thanks very much as always. Great to have you back on the program.
My pleasure.